Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm here with my good friend Jorge Gonzalez, owner of High Functional Training, among other things. And we've actually been able to do some projects together over the years in the financial space, in the fitness space, and also he's actually had me on his podcast back in the day. So I'm excited to have you here. Thanks for joining me, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. I was excited. Um, haven't done one of these in a while, so I was maybe a little nervous, right? But
No, man, you're good. You're good.
okay, good, good.
Well, one, you're obviously you know how to lead a crowd. You do it every day. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
you're right. Um, I'm a couple years older, but we grew up in the same town, Castroville, where you're at now, and there's just something about people that are from there, man. It's cool to see as we've all gotten older, we've all stayed in touch, or moved away, come back, and all that. But tell us a little bit. Those that don't know about your background, are you originally from Castroville? Where's kind of your family from, and where did you grow up?
Yeah, so I was basically raised in Castroville. My mom came here from Mexico in the early 80s, and we she migrated to Watsonville. Um, and there I was there about till I was 5, and then we moved to Castroville,
Same.
and then and
Just
then
my
yeah,
dad. That's
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah.
yeah. And then we moved to Castroville. I actually lived out in like Simonville, the mobile
Yep.
homes out by the
Yep.
Alpha 83.
Yep.
And then we moved to Castroville, and I started going to Castroville school since kindergarten, since
Yeah. Shoot.
Miss Franks. I don't know if you did you have Miss Franks?
No, I went to Moss Landing. So
Oh,
we're
that's right.
from the other side, which it's Castro was so small, it doesn't really have
Right.
sides, but the other side of the bridge, for some reason, for the bus routes or whatever, those kids went to Echo Valley and Moss Landing.
Oh, that's right. That's
Even
right.
though I
That's
could have walked to school, doesn't make sense. I had to get up hella early and freeze my ass off just to go to Prunedale for school.
yeah, I remember that.
But I'm grateful. I enjoy. I'm grateful for the friends I made and those experiences that we had there. So yeah, that's crazy. Only a couple years difference, but very similar
Yeah,
background. My dad and his family came from Juarez, wound up in
yeah.
Watsonville, and then after the earthquake, we moved to Castroville.
Castroville. Yeah, I remember. So my sisters were they're like 7 years, 8 years older than me. So
Okay,
they went to school to Watsonville for a little bit, and then
my brother did too. My older brother.
yeah, and
That's
then we
crazy.
moved. So they're probably the same age. They probably went to high school together. My
Yeah,
sister's about to be 45, so mid
yeah,
40s.
yeah. My brother
Yeah,
was
yeah,
97,
yeah,
so he
yeah.
was born in 1979. So yeah, probably around the
Yeah,
same age.
exactly. Yeah, so we moved to Castroville. I went to school here, Castroville School, Gambetta,
Yeah.
Panthers, and
I
then
think that's where we first met was when you were at Gambetta and probably Rec Center basketball. I think was
yeah,
around that time.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I actually met your little brother before I met
Yep.
you because I
Yep.
used to play basketball with your younger brother,
Yep.
Cameron.
Travel ball. Yep.
Yeah. So then from there, like I said, went to North County. My sisters went through the same school system, and we actually all worked in the same shopping center, going here, Burger King, Round Table, which is
Yep.
with the
Yep.
family now,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
There's only
so
a few
then
options
yeah,
of employment in town. Legal
exactly,
employment,
exactly.
anyway.
Illegal. Yeah, there you go. So then right after high school, I graduated in 2005.
Yep.
And then after high school, I decided that to join the Marine Corps. Actually, I was already focused on joining the military since I was like in middle school. I kind of already knew that I wanted to.
Oh yeah.
Don't ask me why. I don't know. I think it was like a commercial that got me all motivated about it. I actually wrote a paper in college about this commercial.
The
And
few, the
the
proud.
feud. Exactly. I don't know if you remember where this guy, a Marine, is fighting this lava monster. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then
The late night commercials would get you. You're like, dang.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, so I joined the Marine Corps in 2005, and then I was in the Marine Corps for about 9, 10 years. So I was going
Oh
on
wow.
10 years, and then I was honorably discharged in 2014.
Thank you for your
And
service.
thank you, man. I appreciate it. And then from there, I kind of was lost for a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Actually, my plan was to retire a Marine. You
Yeah.
know, and it's crazy because this year would have been my 20th year retired. Like 38 would have been me retiring from the
Dang.
Marine Corps. That's great. 2005 to 2025, I would have done my honor 20 years of service.
Dang.
And retire at 38, and obviously still a whole life ahead.
Yeah.
And then so yeah, so then I got out and I was lost for a little bit. And then I actually didn't get out on my own terms. I dealt with some legal issues,
Yeah.
and then so the good thing is that I was able to get out honorably still,
Good.
so
Good.
I stayed out in SoCal for a little bit, out in SoCal kind of, and then I wanted to come home, but I was kind of like a little bit of in my head kind of shamed a little bit, no.
Yeah.
And so then I made it back home. I ended up using my VA benefits, my GI benefits, which
Good.
I'm like a big advocate on, and I'm still involved with veterans and I try to help them with these benefits.
Yep.
And I went to Gavilan out in Gilroy. I wanted to get out the area for a little bit,
Yeah.
And then from Gilroy, I went to San Jose State and I got
That's
my
right. I remember
bachelor's
that.
there,
That's right.
Yeah.
What did you get
And then
your
that's
degree in?
when I got my degree in communications and then business.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
So so then from there I graduated in 2018 and then that's when me and you kind of
Yep.
reconnected,
Yep.
right? And then we started working in finances and from there I till the pandemic I was still working in finances
Yeah.
and then I decided to just dive into this whole fitness thing and this is where I'm at now.
That's awesome. So talk about a lot of people can relate to that. I happen to be I was already in school in Canada when the Iraq War started, and Afghanistan
Yeah,
was around the same time. I know you spent some time in Afghanistan.
yeah.
Um, and I remember people being like, "Oh, are you dodging the war?" I'm like, "I was here when it started. Like I wasn't. How I can't dodge it. I was already here." But part of me,
Yeah,
wishes I would have gone in that era with my age group when I got back, but it just took a different path. But talk
yeah,
about
yeah.
that transition going from, well, first of all, being a Marine, which is about
Mhm.
probably the most extreme, besides being special forces of the
Yeah,
main branches. Marines
yeah,
probably the most intense,
yeah. No,
right? And
definitely,
they're proud
definitely.
of that. They're proud
Yeah,
of that.
yeah, no, yeah,
So
definitely, yeah, definitely. We kind of got a little bit of that Marine arrogance, but it's
yeah.
not like because we're these cocky, full of ourselves, individuals. But it's just that we built it, and it's a culture that they build in us.
Well,
It's just,
let's
like
put it this way:
yeah,
it's probably annoying at a bar, but
yeah.
in a fight, when you need them, you're glad that they're there.
Oh, oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
And so, how did
Absolutely.
it? One, from being the Marine culture; two, from being in combat and
Yeah.
on foreign soil, then coming back home. Like, how I know a lot of obviously a lot of folks struggle with that mentally, socially, emotionally. Like, what was that like for? I know you had a daughter. You were kind of coming back. Like, what all those things happening at once. Like, you all the cliches. You dealt with them directly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Coming, obviously, I actually knew when I joined the Marine Corps that I was gonna go and deploy, to,
Yeah.
and I knew it. And in boot camp, our drill instructors reminded us every day, like, and they're probably. I'm not gonna say I'm not biased for this era, but it is. They're like, if you're joining the military now, we're kind of in peacetime, you
Yeah.
know. And then, but at that time in 2005, September 11 happened 4 years before that. We're still in
Right.
Iraq,
Right.
and then and then now we're going to Afghanistan. Like we know, like especially as a Marine, that it's going to be 99% chances that you're going to end up
You weren't
overseas.
expecting a vacation. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So every day they reminded us, they trained us harder and ready, and make sure that mentally we're there for each other, and always just stay level headed, right? Stay level
Well,
headed, you know.
unless you've been through it, you don't know what it's like, right? It's just like being a
Yeah.
parent. Being at war is only those who have dealt with it know what it's like. And the other thing is, since all of that happened and they've been able to review the circumstances that led to those decisions and question everything and the people involved, that's one thing, right? You can be against war. I think everyone really is against it. No one really
Yeah.
wants war, right? Until it's a necessity. But it's those brotherhoods and sisterhoods that you develop on the front lines. That's what
Hmm.
it's about. So, sometimes people try to like talk shit, or they just don't know what they're talking about, right? You're not the ones making those decisions. You're just there.
Right. Right.
You and your team are
Yeah.
there following orders, and
Yeah.
you have each other's back, and that's why there's that pride and camaraderie, because
Yeah.
it's about the person
Exactly.
next to you, not
Hmm.
necessarily the politicians or the
Right.
whatever led
Right.
to it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one thing, bringing back to the transition, right? You come back and obviously, you come. out to a different world
Yeah.
where you are perceived, maybe, different,
Yeah.
right? And also ourselves as Marines or as troops, especially when you've been deployed to like a combat zone, you're gonna be a little bit different, maybe a lot different depending on what you were exposed to, right?
So like, you can
And
give us some examples.
so maybe like you can be exposed to some kind of explosion, an
Yeah.
IED, right? And then I remember us having going on these missions where we were on the road for forever.
Yeah.
And the things that we weren't even traveling that far. It just took us that long to travel because everything had to be scanned on the ground,
Extra careful.
extra
Yeah.
careful, so that we're not running over bombs.
Right.
And now you imagine you're coming back home and you're getting back in a vehicle after 6 months and a year, and now you got to drive, and now you see an object on the road, and you're like, oh shit, is that an
Yeah.
IED? And jokingly you think that, or you're just like, oh shit, but then that's not normal, right?
It's in your subconscious. Yeah.
It's a subconscious, right?
Road rage on a
Or
whole different
yeah,
level.
yeah, exactly. Or just or when you're walking on a patrol and you're always gonna be on the alert, right?
Yeah.
And be on the alert for your, making sure that you're not stepping on a bomb, making sure that you're staying within range of your squad, your fire teams, and also make sure, we got to make sure we don't get ambushed, and just, and now when
Just
you come back
constantly on high
home,
alert. Yeah.
yeah, when you come back home, now you go to a restaurant and be like, nah, I gotta sit where I can see everybody, or where I can
Yep.
see the exit, or I can see the entrance, and then, or a, 1 arm distance from me,
Right.
um, just simple stuff like that in your mind now. And then now when you people ask you about your service, and maybe are a little ignorant about it, or a little naive,
Yeah.
or and they'll be like, or they think they know what's going on within the whole politics thing of war, that they're going to
Right.
judge me right away from the get-go. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
And now me dealing with that, right? Now me
Right.
dealing with that, where I have to be open-minded to them
And
having lack
you
of.
lost friends so that they could have an opinion.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I've lost friends there, right? And you lost friends when you get back, and it's
Yeah.
crazy because it seems like I've been losing more friends over here. I
Wow.
really didn't experience that in Afghanistan, but I experienced more friends here, losing their life to their mental health issues, you know,
Wow.
you
Well,
know,
I'm sorry to
and
hear that.
and,
But
and
yeah.
yeah, and so yeah, so that's some of the transition, you know, issues that we still deal to this day, and then also the physical part of it. Some of us get out with physical,
Yeah.
limitations,
Yeah.
and I'm 38, and I feel like I'm at my almost 50, with like the way that my body has gone through wear and tear, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Without, I mean, just from sports, not
yeah,
even going to war, just from sports and growing up fighting and car accidents. I mean, your body keeps a record of that. Like
yeah,
you said, being on high
absolutely,
alert. I've heard that I have some friends, we have some mutual friends that are correctional officers, right? And any type of emergency response, whether it's military or fire, police, corrections, you're kind of in that state of constant alert, right? And adrenaline.
yeah,
Well, if you don't release it in a healthy way, it ends up kind of becoming a poison in your own system.
yeah, yeah, no,
So it leads
absolutely,
to all these other, I mean, I'm not a doctor, but it leads to all these other issues down the road. And you're seeing
hmm
that now that you're in the fit health and wellness and fitness world. A lot of these, people's just their nerves are fried. Their nerves
hmm
are just like, it's hard to focus and perform as an athlete when you're in your head, and then the stuff in your head is affecting your body.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And they say that our mind is so powerful, and it really is, you know. But when it comes down to the physical and mind, yes, there's that, you know, mind to muscle, mind to like body connection. But sometimes you might think it, and I'm gonna go do it, but your body is, especially if you've gone through all this, all these treads on your time, all these miles,
Yeah. Yeah.
and be like, no, like you gotta accept and come down to realize that you're not where you used to be or where you want to be, but
Yeah.
you gotta adapt and overcome in order
Right.
for you to not fall into this this funk,
Yeah,
right?
it's just a different chapter of the mission, right? And it's like,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you came home, you dealt with the initial struggle of transitioning into a whole different environment and world than you left, with scars, both mental and physical. But you did the hard work. You put your benefits in GI Bill to work. You got your degree, which congrats on that. I'm in the middle of
Yeah,
that
thank you.
myself, and it is not
Yeah.
easy. You have two beautiful daughters. Um, and obviously that puts some of those things in perspective too, right? Like
Oh
how
yeah,
you came back, you got through those challenges, you discipline yourself to finish school, which is not easy. You're raising your daughters. At what point, you said maybe the pandemic, at what point was that kind of like you realize maybe I want to do something like in the fitness world, besides now that the military is kind of over, that would seem to be your next thing that you were really passionate about.
yeah. Well, I think I've always prided myself in serving, and especially in the Marine Corps. You know, I really did. Um, and I grew up sports. Right, I grew up in sports till about high school when I was kind of going through some, like we
Yeah.
all do,
Yeah.
right? And but working out became a lifestyle to me, in the Marine Corps. And then also when I went in the Marine Corps, I was a waiver. I was a weight waiver. So basically, I was overweight, like 15 pounds, when I got
Mm.
to boot camp, and I was a diet recruit. So I've always struggled with my weight growing up. Well, until in high school, because we do all the
Yeah.
underage drinking,
Yeah. Yeah.
and all that
Burger
stuff,
King
and
and beer.
Burger King, and when Burger King and Round Table and Taco Bell are the holy, you know,
It adds up. Yeah. Yeah.
restaurants
There's
here.
no healthy options in
There's no
Castroville. You're
healthy
right.
options. Yeah, exactly. So,
Surrounded by agriculture, nobody eats salad. It's kind of a it's an enigma.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then later on, people would always ask me. He's like, I would always think, he's like, would you get into fitness? Would you get a trainer? Would you? Because I would always people would ask me for advice when they see me at the gym, and then it's like, no, I don't know. I don't want to babysit anybody, or I don't know. I don't want to put my standard to somebody else's. They're not gonna, most likely not gonna have the discipline or
Right. Because
to
in the
to
Marine Corps, they're required to listen.
yes, they're
But if
required to
they're
listen.
paying
Yeah.
you as their trainer, that it's not the same commitment.
Lively it's the lively when you know what that is, when your livelihood depends on people.
Yeah.
It's not for the weak. You know what I mean?
You'll find a
And,
way. Yeah.
and you find a way. And then so then the pandemic hit, and I actually started working at some of the local gyms or the local fitness studios like the Camp and Fit
Yeah.
Body. And then I just started to get infatuated again with training and serving, and making connections with people through fitness. And I just started doing workouts at the beach, especially with your
Yep.
wife,
Yep. Yep.
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah, I
then
remember, being friends with both of you guys and kind of watching that from a distance. And then, oh, that's really
yeah,
cool. And I think I
yeah,
attended a couple of them, and it was
you did.
it was beautiful setting, but I'm like, I hate working out at the beach. I mean, I understand that sand is like makes it more challenging, but I'm like
Yeah,
push-ups in the beach because I have a jack shoulder. It was like
yeah,
it was not fun. But
yeah,
I enjoyed being out there with friends and getting a good workout in. But
yeah,
sand is not my preferred platform.
yeah. I think our main like objection with the whole beach workout was obviously, yes, you're gonna get a good workout at the beach because of the terrain.
Yeah,
It's gonna be challenging, but it was more like highlighting our area and
yeah,
what the
totally,
beauty it is, right? And how
totally.
blessed we are
Yeah,
to live right here.
yeah,
And we grew up here, and some
it's
of us don't even go to
ridiculous.
the don't some of I know the beach is cold and the water is cold. It's not like SoCal. It's not,
Well,
you know?
people thought it was crazy. I made it a point to after the workouts jump in the ocean as like my cold
Yeah.
plunge, and people were like, "What the hell?" I'm like, "You don't swim?" They're like, "I've lived here my whole life. I've never been." I'm like, "You've never been in the ocean? Well, why do you even live here? Like, what's the point?" I
Exactly.
know it
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
cold, but
Yeah.
there's no better way to. It's like 10 cups of coffee all at once. Boom.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then since we were kids going to, and then we from
Yep.
kids to middle school to teenagers to throwing bonfires out there to
Yep.
be a little bit of getaway. Let's go out to the beach in the middle of the
Yep.
night, and then you from
Well,
us landing. So you kind of had a lot of friends that lived down in that little area right there.
Well,
But
people don't realize it, but Castroville, well, Moss Landing for sure, but Castroville is pretty much a beachfront town.
yeah,
It doesn't really
yeah.
get the credit. It's more of like a farm town, but it really is. It's. I mean, you could walk to the beach from Castroville. You could.
Yeah, no, you can. Yeah, it's like three. It's I googled it because I used to run from my house down to Salinas State River right there to by Moss
Well,
Landing.
one of these days, one of us, my mom used to work for this lawyer and clean this condo right there at the state beach. That's the
Yeah.
address says Castroville, so it's like a beach house in Castroville. And those are like $1 million homes. But one day, one of us is gonna get one of those, and we'll be
Yeah.
able to use it as an Airbnb or like for
Oh,
retreats,
nice.
some
Yeah.
trainings. That would be cool.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah,
One of
definitely.
the goals. Put it on the list.
Yeah, I know, right? So yeah, so then, I was I like training, I like working out myself, and I like helping others. So it just eventually, you know, and then we started working out with workouts by the bay, and
Yep.
then I started doing workouts at the park, and next thing I know, I'm just picking up momentum in the industry. And then one of my buddies saw me doing all the workouts at the park and still training at Fit Body Boot Camp in Monterey. And he was like, "Hey, are you interested in opening your own studio, your own gym?" I was like, "Oh, well, yeah, that's the ultimate goal." He's like, "Well, this building in our shopping center downstairs in Castroville. Shout out to Victor Miranda. A lot of this it
Yeah.
wouldn't be without him.
Oh man, Vic's
You know,
been doing some big things. I'm proud of that guy.
yeah, me too. He's a big role model and
Yep.
someone that, inspiring. So when he
Christine
kind of,
Barber Lounge and now Barber
yeah,
School.
exactly. And so,
Shout
yeah,
out to
so,
Kiko too, taking it
yeah,
over.
exactly.
Yep,
Exactly. Yeah.
yep.
So he kind of connected me with the property manager.
Nice.
And then from there, it was just, like I said,
Well,
it
kudos
just
to
took
you,
off.
man, because it's one thing to like start a little side business, being a coach or a trainer and meeting clients outdoors or at other gyms, but it's a whole other thing to take on a lease and and
Hmm.
and and clean up a space and promote your business. And really, it's like just like when you became a dad, it's like, oh shit, got
Yeah.
real. Yeah, same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Starting a business, it's not the same as being a parent, but in some ways it is.
Yeah. No,
The level of responsibility, you're like, it all falls on you. So
yeah.
what was that like transitioning from just being kind of a trainer and it's a hobby to like, oh shit, I just signed on the dotted line?
You know what? I really embraced it. Like I was excited about it. I never, not one like bone in my body had doubt that
Okay.
this was gonna thrive. I just didn't know it was gonna thrive this fast,
Yeah.
you know? And just basically just what I did in the Marine Corps, right?
Yeah.
I just took that leap of faith. I knew that I would go to war and I knew chances would be maybe that I wouldn't come back. And I knew same when I opened this is like, okay, maybe I fell. It's okay. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna do whatever I can to not let that happen. And then now I'm on year 3 and I'm growing.
Yeah. Most new restaurants or most new gyms don't make it past a year. So you're already beating the odds in that regard. And I can't
Yeah.
really think of any gyms in Castroville really ever. I mean, there's been sports. I know there's been like martial arts classes here and there over the years,
Hmm.
but as far as like a long-term gym, I can't really think of one off the top of my head. I don't know if you can, but as far as I'm concerned, it's the longest running, most
Hmm.
legit gym that Castroville has ever had, that I can think of.
Yeah, I can't think of any either. And I mean, maybe others that have been here before us, or I did see. I had when I first started to get ready to open. I googled gym in Castroville or any kind of fitness studio or anything. There was some martial arts fitness studios right over there by across Campos. They had like a small little studio
Yeah,
right
yeah,
across
yeah, yeah,
Campos.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know if he did martial arts and then just group training, kind of what I do.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, but that's something that again, like I was talking about it with somebody earlier that I've been taking a lot of pride in and bringing something like this to our town,
Well, you
and
should, and no matter what happens, you always have that. You did it, you
yeah,
sustained it, and wherever it goes from here, you can say that you did that.
yeah.
One of the things that you added to the mix, besides typical personal training, was boxing. and
Yeah.
not just boxing, but you train in boxing, but also you've given back and taught kids boxing. So tell us
Yeah.
about kind of where did that idea come from, and what, I mean, I know the power. I mean, I was fortunate, dad didn't teach us a lot, but he taught us how to play basketball and how to fight. And so
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
fortunate to have that training of boxing like at a young age. But a lot of kids, especially young men, don't have that training of just footwork and how to hold their hands. And so how did you get into teaching boxing, and what have you seen the impact it's had on kids?
Yeah. So in the Marine Corps is every Marine is trained to be a rifleman and with hand on hand combat, you know. So when I got out, and I was finding my way, like I said, I started working in finance, and then I started working in those different gyms in the area. I was hired by Monterey Boxing Strong, and she kind of took a leap of faith with me, and she trained me, and she's taught me so much, not only in the business. Masha Cavazos, shout out to you,
Oh
owner
yeah,
of
yeah,
Boxing
yeah.
Strong in Monterey. And so I started working with her. We actually got a contract with Rec here, North Monterey County Rec. So then I started doing boxing under Boxing Strong with
It
her
was like a
at the
program.
Rec. Yeah, at the program.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
we were doing summer camps. We were doing 1 hour classes. I'm actually gonna help her out next Monday and be doing a class here at the Japanese school for her. We're doing kickboxing again for the
Awesome,
Rec. Yeah,
awesome.
so I'm gonna go and help her out and do a couple classes for her there. And so then that's how I started to coach boxing. Before I opened High Functional, I was working also with Monterey Boxing Strong. Yeah.
So for those that are watching who either, you know, they're intimidated by the gym and by lifting weights, or they're tired of just using a treadmill, want to try something different, can you tell maybe folks about some of the benefits of boxing, not just fitness, but also self-defense, and like what have you seen?
Yeah, well, boxing, besides being so physical demanding, it's also very mental demanding. So it becomes a stimulant. Like you can't just, especially if you're learning the actual technique and how to box, footwork, head movement,
Yeah,
combinations,
yeah,
hip rotation, torso rotate.
yeah,
Like there's so much mechanics that is to it, especially when you're coaching it, that
yeah.
there's no way to just kind of like, oh, I wonder what I'm gonna have for lunch later, or
You can't listen
like
to a podcast while you're boxing.
exactly. You can't sit there, but or you can't just put on music and get lost in the lyrics.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? Yeah, and
You got
you
to be
can't.
focused on not
You're
getting
gonna be
hit.
focused. Yeah, you're gonna exactly, and it can be like I do a lot of one-on-one mix boxing,
Yep.
which with and so you have to be alert of the combinations because I'm gonna throw hands at you. You're gonna go here, you're gonna go there, you're gonna move your feet this way, and so you gotta be in tune and locked in in the moment, and that's so it's so mental, and that's probably the most beneficial of it. And then the physical part, it's just provides power, cardiovascular training with not a lot of impact on your joints, right? Like running and
Mm-hmm.
playing sports, all that other sports like running and jumping, right? Basketball, soccer,
Yep.
all these other sports, or just like swimming, right? Swimming is a great cardiovascular because of the less impact that it provides on our
Yeah, you're
joints,
right.
body,
What's crazy about boxing is how much cardio and calories are burned, even though you're only staying in a small circle.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you just gotta obviously move around and move your head, your feet, your body, but it's very mental. And then
So
yeah,
I mean, there was an overwhelming response. I think mostly positive. The community embraced, and it shows by your membership and the consistency. And we've been able to be part of the gym in different seasons, and we love
yeah.
it. And it really is a family. And I know that that's been a huge thing that you've created for people. So just talk about that, like the family that you built and the brand that you built, but then also
Mhm.
kind of talk about maybe some of the challenges you overcome or some of the haters that you had along the way. I'm interested in that part of the story.
Yeah. So me, it's like it's all about culture. In the Marine Corps, it's a culture, right? Culture. And when I came here, I wanted that. I wanted to make sure I established a culture, right? Not like someone where like there's rules and stuff like that, right? Or there's these, but it was me like just lead by my energy, by what I stand for, right? And how I carry myself. And I think that's how it came along, right? Just coming in here and leaving everything outside and just letting loose. And I'm a I'm I'm a goofball. Like I joke around and I talk a little shit. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? I call people out jokingly, but also kind of mean it. You know, so
that's a
I'm like,
Castroville thing.
yeah, I'm myself. Like I'm very transparent. What you see is what you get, kind of person.
Yeah,
And I think that's what has allowed people to come in and kind of be themselves and just
yeah,
leave everything out and meet individuals with that are like-minded, that are here to as maybe as an outlet, maybe it's a way for them to escape reality, or they really want to work on their health. People are here for so many reasons and
yeah,
in so many ages, so many ethnicities and races here already, you know. And
yeah.
so to me, that was what I was really going for. I wanted to be like a melting pot, but also where we can grow together as a community
Yeah.
and just and really embrace the HFT for what it is and stuff.
I love
Uh,
that. And it's true that the diversity thing is true as far as fitness levels and ages and ethnic backgrounds. And the people, especially those morning people, man, they're committed because it's
yeah,
part of their routine now. They go to the gym, they go to work,
they keep me up
and
on my
yeah,
feet, on my toes.
right. No,
Yeah,
I've seen you man, pull some long days. So how did you starting a new business, all the hours that it took to put that in? And these are crazy hours because you're getting up at 4 in the morning, right? And sometimes
yeah,
not done till now 10, whatever. So
yeah.
we won't keep you much longer. But how do
Is it
you?
10 already?
I don't know. How did you do it? You're also helping raise your daughters. You got all these things going on, your business, personal life. Like, how did you balance it all? Or maybe you didn't for the past couple of years while you were building
Mm.
this.
Well, honestly, I'm still learning every day on how to do it. You know,
Yeah,
it's I think I need it. I need
yeah,
it. I come from structure. I come from like purpose,
yeah,
routine. And to me, I need that. It's what drives me. And then, purpose and I feel like, you know, it's overwhelming and I'm tired and my feet freaking are dead by the end of the day.
yeah,
I literally walk 10 miles a day just from training, you know.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
so
because
I'm
I don't know how you still have a voice. And just for those
yeah,
who've never taken your class, it's him leading them every class
yeah,
almost and
yeah.
yelling the instructions over the
Right,
loud
right.
music. Great
Yeah,
music, by the way. But I
yeah.
don't know how you
That's
still have
right.
a voice with all the yelling that you do. You need to get like a
Well,
megaphone.
you see how my voice is a little deeper right now, like
Yeah,
a little bit like it's a
hoarse.
graspy thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, like if someone says something, he's like, "Coach, you sound like one of those." No disrespect to those, like offense to people, they struggle with smoking cigarettes and been
yeah,
affected by it. But one of
yeah,
those individuals that
yeah.
got the hole right here in the neck,
Yep, yep.
and then
One of those
so
commercials they used to try to scare
yeah,
us in the 90s. Yeah,
exactly, exactly. So I don't know how I do it anyway. I honestly, I think a lot to caffeine and teas and and water, and obviously trying to practice a healthy lifestyle when it comes to my food and nutrition because that's gas, that's energy,
yep.
that's what we're made out of.
Well, it
So
helps
I
that
have
your gym has a kitchen. That's big.
exactly,
And then
exactly,
two, I know you've built some good relationships in the nutrition space, both in the supplement world and also in the pre-made meals. So you've been a big
yeah,
advocate for that. And shout out to you because if it wasn't for what you're doing there, I mean, there's a lot of that in Salinas, a lot of that in Monterey, but really there wasn't a lot of anybody doing much for health in Castroville. Some maybe a little underground home-based stuff, but nothing really on a commercial retail level. So kudos to you for doing that, man.
yeah. Thank you, man. And like I said, that's something that I really take my pride in, and I'm just really just happy that I was able to find my way after so many years of still, like I said, I still enjoyed what I was doing after I got out of the service, right? I was going to college, getting an education, and I value education, right? Like
Yep.
some
Yep.
people might have different opinions about education and the system and everything and how fucking you're in
Same
debt,
about the military. Same about
right? Same as military, same as about any politician, right? So stuff like that, right?
yeah.
And now I'm here and I'm happier than ever. It's probably the happiest I've been in my life,
That's
honestly.
awesome. That's awesome.
And I'm just right now, I think I'm just scratching the surface. I really am,
Well,
and
it shows because I think I don't know if it's a guy thing or it's a Mexican thing or it's a Cacheva thing, but there is that like almost we're just used to struggle and we're like
Mhm.
in a weird way comfortable there. Like I just get up and grind, get up and grind. But I think part of it is because we've seen friends and family pass away at a young age, and then also we're like, getting into our 40s now. I'm a couple years old ahead of you, but it's like you don't really have the time or the energy to do anything that's not important. You're like
Yeah.
you only
Mhm.
have a handful of friends, and I mean, you've had the same friends for like damn near 35 years. I'll
Yeah,
give you
man.
that credit.
Handful
And
of
I've been
friends.
fortunate to have some
Yeah.
lifelong friends as well. And it's like, other than that, your friends, your family, like a couple of your business partners, like you're not really worried about, I think when you're younger, you got something to prove. It's like, I don't feel like we have much left to prove. It's more of just like
No.
protecting our peace, protecting our time, and, taking care of our family. And yeah, just I think before I would take any opportunity or any situation, and now we're just a lot more selective with who we
Yeah.
spend our time with, what we do with our time day to day. And so it's been cool to see you kind of evolve into that too. I know that's that next step for you where you're like, you need to recruit some help or you need to maybe change up your
Yeah.
business model a little bit so you have more
Right.
time. Um,
Yeah.
yep.
So that's where I'm
It's
at right
part of it.
now. Like I
It's
said,
part of
yeah,
it.
I'm taking it day by day. And definitely aspiring to for new ventures, right? That are gonna help me
Yep.
to still operate this place at a high quality like I am now, but
Right.
also be able to get out there and do other you know stuff that I'm passionate about and how and doing,
Well,
from like
I
coaching.
mean, it's to equate it to like fitness, right? Like
Yeah,
high
yeah,
functional training. One of the biggest parts about being functional is proper form, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
so, and why is proper form important? Because proper form will give you leverage, right?
right,
So you'll
right,
be able to lift more than you thought possible if you're in the right form, right? And
yeah, yeah,
you can use leverage. But if not, you're going to struggle
yeah,
unnecessarily. It could be the
right,
same amount of weight, and someone less strong than you can come in and throw it up because they have the form and the experience. And it's the
yeah,
same in business. We have
right,
this, like I
right.
said, we put this stuff on our shoulders. I can do it. I can do it. And we just kind of tough it out. And like you can only do that for so long. I mean, I'm guilty of that.
Yeah, and the biggest thing with the lack of form after putting so much doing this repetitive movement with weight is what getting hurt.
Yeah.
So in business, after you keep doing the bad decisions, the wrong decisions, after a time, you're gonna get
Yep.
hurt
Yep.
and you're gonna
Yep.
lose,
Yep.
and that at this, so
And it's usually at an inconvenient time. So
exactly. Yeah,
you
exactly.
built an awesome thing, and not that you needed more on your plate, but tell me about how it came about this group of Marines that you're now kind of leading and supporting, and the diversity within that group and the different ages
Oh
and
my God. You know what? The Monterey County Semper Fi fraternity,
okay.
and this is our first Marine Corps chapter in this area.
Wow.
It's Marines and Marine doctors, which are Navy corpsmen.
Okay.
And honestly, I met a few Marines at the gym at In Shape in Salinas, and we became friends. And from there, in Phil Orozco, shout out to him, my boy. He's a Vietnam vet, and he was part of the Legion, a president of the Legion post in Laurel, out in Salinas, and he's been
Okay.
involved. He's been involved in the veterans. He actually was one of the founders or first of the veteran parade. Like
Oh
he
wow.
was that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Him
So
and
that and
Tony.
him and Tony were the first ones to create that. And then he kind of stepped back from all that for a while. And then I met him at the gym, and he was like, "Devil Dog, Devil Dog." He's like, "I want to start a Marine Corps chapter, just all Marines, just like a group of Marines, like because Vietnam veterans have it. They
Right.
have like a chapter, all Vietnam veterans, and they have a group and a committee and all that." So he's like, so he just kept bringing it up until we decided to like just take that leap and do it. And we've been together for about 2 years now, and there's about 35 members, Marines from all eras, Vietnam, freaking Desert Storm,
Wow.
Afghanistan. And then at the time, it was only a few of us, and I was the youngest one. So I was kind of voluntold or volunteered to, to be the commanding officer, even though I had so many other things going on. And I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna say no. That's just an honor, you
Yeah.
know. And that's where for the last year and a half, last year for like the first years, I was the commanding officer. Actually, just we did our transition now, and there's a new commanding officer, and I'm still part of the board of the executive board, but now I'm more of an advisor now.
Yeah.
It's just yeah,
Well, it's we've been through the financial companies. We've been able to connect with an organization called Disabled American Veterans, right? DAV, and they're a great nonprofit that helps veterans just get all that they're entitled to. And I have a feeling that I don't know the stats exactly, but a lot of veterans are not really taking full advantage of their what benefits are entitled to them or that they're entitled
right,
to. And part of that, and now that I'm working kind of in government day to day, I see the bureaucracy and how slow things move and how frustrating they can get. And that's why it
mm-hmm.
pisses me off when people talk about immigration, because I'm like, have you ever dealt with like immigration, or like have you
Mm-hmm.
even gone to the DMV and felt how frustrating that is? Well, imagine being someone with PTSD who doesn't have the uh, patience to wait
Yeah,
at a government agency with civilians and
right,
kids and noise and animals and cars driving by, and like it's like not really the ideal environment for someone coming back from war to
mm-hmm.
just to get an approval or to get something that they deserve, right? So I see a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people now. I see it in the business world, helping veteran owned businesses, that it's like there's a lot of opportunities for veterans, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
them just they don't even realize it, or they need the help and support. So I respect your commitment to that, and I want to do anything that I can to help veterans as well, because they're a lot of times veterans, if they play their cards right, they're actually one of the most sought after as employees
Yeah,
and business owners, because of that work ethic, because of that discipline, because of that
right,
code that they live by. But a lot of them just kind of get lost in the sauce, and
right.
somehow between coming home and going back into the world, as you know, a lot of them never really kind of recover.
Yeah, no, and as proud as I am to serve and be a Marine, I'm once a Marine, always a Marine. Um, the government in our country has dropped the ball
Yeah.
on taking care of its veterans,
Yeah.
and for as much as they help me, I'm appreciative of it. But it's been a very overwhelming process for a lot of us. Like when I
Yeah.
was in college, I was, helping veterans get their GI Bill started, and then I was also was a financial rep there
Yeah.
at the vet resource center where I would help. Okay, now we got that. Now let's go help you with your financial aid. You
Yeah.
know, and a lot of times, it's just the VA, just with dealing with the benefits when it comes to medical. There's a lot of there's a lot of I say that there's a lot of misleading, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of
Misinformation.
misinformation. There's a
Yeah.
lack of information, lack of outreach,
Yeah.
right? And then also they just kind of rubs veterans the wrong way, and eventually they just give up, and
Yeah.
eventually they start fighting the fight on their own, and they lose it,
Yeah.
or they're losing, and now they're using substances, or they're
Right.
just in a very bad mental state and physical state.
So, I mean, not that you have it all figured out, and you've definitely had your ups and downs, and we've talked about that as friends, and you're not shy of sharing your story. But what would you say, with everything you've overcome as a, growing up in the environment that we grew up in, the family dynamics that we grew up in, to coming back from war and adjusting to civilian life and all the veteran issues you discussed, to starting a business, having a family, all these different things, like we're in that. It's weird because like we still like, wow, we were just like 21 yesterday, but now it's like, oh shoot, we're going into our 40s now. Like we're the grown-ups, your dad. It's like, holy cow, we're the ones kind of in charge now. Like we can't really keep blaming
Yeah.
our parents at this point. At a certain point, you got to take responsibility for your own decisions, right? And what would you
Oh
say
yeah.
to people that are kind of in that maybe they're struggling with that transition, whether it's from college to a job or from the military to civilian life, or from being single to being married with kids, or whatever the case may be. Like the challenges that you've overcome, what would be your advice? We'll kind of end with that, of what you would give to people that are in that struggle right now.
I feel like, honestly, if I wouldn't be here where I am without my support system, and and find that, find, surround yourself with individuals that, you know, you know, really, really genuinely care about you
Yeah,
and for your good, and value that. I value that a lot, and then find something that you're passionate about, something that, you know, and just pursue that,
yeah,
and just work hard and become passionate on that. And I feel like, you know, um, once you develop some kind of purpose, like me, purpose, I'm all about purpose, right? I'm all about purpose. That's what leads me. Like,
yeah,
then the rest will take care of itself, purpose. And now having faith, that's one big thing about me too. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to church every Sunday, but deep down inside, I'm a man of faith. And
yeah.
now I'm actually trying to get back to church every Sunday, and
Well,
I'm
I love
just,
church,
yeah,
but man, that gym you got is church. That you built a
yeah,
family,
exactly.
you built a
Yeah.
community, and
And then, yeah,
it's
and I'm also talking about that all the time, right?
yeah,
What is our biggest blessing in God, right? Our body, our mind, and everything, right?
yeah,
So, you take what they say, they're saying, what your body's your temple,
yeah.
right? So until you take care of that, what God has blessed us with, and the rest will take care of itself. Yeah.
That's good advice. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time. I know we have these conversations all the time, so I'm glad to
Yeah.
finally do it in this format. Where can people find you, and what do you got coming up next?
Right now, I'm still in the process of getting my website out, but you can find me on Instagram, High Functional Training, and I'm public, so you guys can find me there, or on Facebook, Jorge David Gonzalez, and then also, my facility is located in the Cashville Shopping Center, um, behind the Santa Fe and the bakery. So you would drive around the shopping center,
Mhm.
and I'm the only business in the back, which used to be an old daycare.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah, yeah.
Little
So
Rainbow.
Little Rainbow, exactly, which is here
My
for
sister went
I.
there.
I think I've had some clients that came here or had their,
Yeah.
yeah,
Small world, small world.
right,
Well, thank you
yeah,
so much for your time,
yeah,
man.
of
And I'm
course,
excited for anybody listening or watching this to connect with you. I know we're going to work together on some different
yeah,
projects, and
excited,
we've already done a lot up until this point. But now I'm excited because I think the next chapter for all of us is like, okay, what do we learn from this previous chapter, right? How can we tweak
yeah,
things and make them better? And just work with people that, like you said, you look forward to work every day because you get to hang out with your friends, and there's times where you got to challenge them and you got to get in their face, but at the end of the
yeah,
day, you still your friends after the workout,
yeah,
and you want to be in
absolutely,
business with people like that too, like
yeah,
people you would feel safe watching your kids, or people you'd want to have over for dinner with your mom, or whatever the case may be.
right,
Like you
right.
just want to build businesses and build friendships with those kind of people. So, and you're doing that, and I'm excited to be in that with you. So
Thank you,
can't
man. Me
I'm
too.
excited that the weather's getting better. We're going to get out there, do some workouts together. And
Yeah,
thank you for
let's
all you
do
do
it.
for the community, man. Appreciate your service.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to continue to just grow together and work together and be a family.
Let's
And
do it,
thank you,
man. Let's
man.
do it.
Appreciate
All
it.
right.
Bye, brother.